done with my Oreo.
Okay, good.
Do we really know what happened?
The brother did
The
that.
brother, that's what I thought too.
I mean, that seems like kind of obvious. Do you want to talk about Tiff?
Yeah. I mean,
Murdery thingy. Ready.
Yeah. We are so fucking ready.
Oh, God.
Oh, God. Hey, 2 minutes to Wednesday. Welcome
Yay.
to Wednesday. Yay. Yay.
It's Wednesday, my dudes.
It's Wednesday. That's all. That was it. That's the Wednesday song.
The Wednesday song?
It's Wednesday.
Hump day.
It's hump day.
Guess what day it is? Mike.
I don't get that reference.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
It's a commercial.
Okay, don't hit the table, though.
It's a commercial.
Oh, for what? Mike and Ike's?
No, for Geico.
Geico has really stupid commercials.
You don't know.
There's a lot of them. I'm
I
Mario,
know, but
by
that's
the way.
like classic.
That's Chloe, by the way.
Oh, yeah, I'm Chloe.
Who are you?
I'm Chloe.
Oh, you're Chloe. Oh, okay, I'm Mario.
And this is Murdery thingy.
Where we talk about mysteries.
And murderies.
And Geico commercials.
And thingies.
Oh, and yes, thingies as well.
In all seriousness, though, I'm really surprised that you didn't know. You.
Am I supposed to have memorized every single Geico commercial?
Well, it's like really, really popular. And it's not even just because
okay, wait,
we're like.
which one is it?
We're like different ages. It's just like.
No, but tell me it again. Maybe I did not.
There's like a camel walking around the office.
A camel?
Yeah, a camel.
I've never seen
and
that.
he's like asking everybody what day it is. He's like, guess what day it is? It's hump day. And he goes, hump day?
Now it kind of makes sense because it's a camel.
It's a camel.
I didn't know it was a camel. So the hump thing, you know what I mean? It makes more sense now.
Mike. Guess what day it is? It's Wednesday. Wednesday!
Wednesday!
Hump day!
Yep.
Okay, well, that's something else I'll have. I should make like a playlist of like stuff Chloe needs to show Mario because he doesn't get it.
Yeah, that's good. Because I don't get a lot of things.
One of them's that Geico commercial.
Also, lots of meme culture.
But I also don't get a lot
SpongeBob
of
references.
things.
I think what I'm doing this week is like one of those things that I get that you don't get, right? Because like when we were talking about doing like science mysteries, I started just like spouting off for like fucking 20 minutes. And then at the end of it, you were like, what? And then I was like, oh, wait, maybe it's not a great idea. But I'm doing it anyway. Because fuck it,
excited.
I love science.
I'm excited.
Science! And there's so many, like, awesome science mysteries.
Bill.
Bill Nye, the science guy. I fucking love Bill Nye.
Everybody loves Bill Nye.
He is the CEO, I believe, of the Planetary Society. That's, like, his main gig right now. Other than, like, doing a new Netflix show and, like, lobbying to Congress and, like, having debates with fucking idiots and, like, telling them about how, like, evolution is real. Because if you don't think evolution is real, I'm sorry. You're kind of an idiot.
I just think it's, like, interesting that, like, I don't know if it's always been like this, but never have I ever had to, like, explain to someone that, like, science is real.
Science is real.
That, like, you can't argue against science. Like, it's...
Well, here's the thing.
It's science. Like, I don't...
Like, I think a lot of people kind of misapprehend what science is. So, like, okay, to me, this is, like, what science is, right? Okay, I see something, and then I ask you, do you see that? And then I tell you about it, and you tell me about it. And then if we say the same thing, we know it's real. That's science. Like, you do an observation, you test it against, you know, data, and then you, like, revise your, whatever, hypothesis.
I know words.
That's a word.
The scientific method.
Right.
Introduction.
Exactly. What is the scientific method, Chloe?
I don't remember. Asked me in 7th grade, okay?
Right. I think it's...
Introduction.
Isn't it like experiment, or
It's
hypothesis,
experiment,
conclusion, revision, hypothesis, experiment. It's like a cycle, right? But it's basically what I was just talking about, right? Like, you think something is the case, and then you test it, and then you, like, see whether or not it is. And I fucking love that. Because it's way better than going through life just being like, I think so. It's like a way to, like, really find out what's real.
I feel like one time we were talking about how, like, there was, like, a point in time where people were just like, I wonder what happens if I do this. And they just do it.
Exactly.
I mean, that's still happening today, obviously. But, like,
But when, like, the first, like, Prometheus,
Yeah.
Like, when some guy was like, hey, I see lightning make fire. Maybe I make fire.
Yeah.
How I do that?
Just like that.
It was just like that. And apparently it might also have been Neanderthals. They've found, like, tools or, like, whatever remains that, like, indicated they might have had fire, too. Because apparently Neanderthals were not, like, really stupid or anything. They were just, like, a different subspecies. And we, like, intermingled with them all fuck ton. And by fuck ton, I mean because they fucked a lot. Homo
I was
sapiens
gonna say.
and Neanderthals. Like, especially, like, Northern European people. It's, like, a good bit of their DNA is, like, from Neanderthals. Which I think is pretty interesting.
Okay.
Anyway, so
okay. Science mysteries.
That's what I'm doing this week. Science mysteries. And, as we're, like, bullshitting here about science and everything, just as a little, like, primer, I wanted to
Primer?
do... A primer? Okay.
You mean a primer?
I believe one can say either, and also one could say either, as also one... Sorry, I'm like maximum Professor Mario right now because I'm doing science mysteries. So I'm gonna be real fucking annoying.
Professor Mario.
Mario, the know-it-all professor with his broken glasses.
Now you have to push it with your one finger.
Yes, well, I believe wasn't it Shakespeare who once said,
Wouldst thou have that, which thou esteemest the ornament of life, and live a coward in thine own esteem, letting I dare not wait upon I would like a poor cat of the adage. Prithee, beef!
Gramercy. We just went to the Ren Fair this weekend, so I'm going to say Gramercy like 18 times. Go to Bristol Ren Fair, by the way. If you've never been there, it's fucking amazing.
Come say hi to me. I'll be there.
Chloe
I
works
there.
there.
I live there.
They don't pay her any
That's
money.
what you're supposed to say on stage.
Oh, she lives there. Yes.
If someone's like, "Who do you work?" You say, "I live here." Yeah.
And
I
you
live
say,
here.
and how do you say it when you say it to them?
I'm not gonna say it.
Okay. Okay. That's fine. Okay, so the first one I'm going to do, and we're probably going to bullshit like a good bit during this, by the way.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What else is new?
I know, right? So the 1st
We've
one...
like stopped editing videos. We like don't, or not videos, podcasts. We like don't edit these.
Yeah, it's pretty much a raw podcast at this point.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for that, though. I think it forces...
Are there other podcasts that do that?
Yeah, I think so. That just like record live. I don't know. If not, they fucking should, because it's a lot less work.
Yeah, I know, right?
We don't mix our audio. We don't edit. We just fucking do it.
Well, I think it just means that like people at home are like turning their volume down and then up and then down and then up. Like when I laugh, they turn the volume down. And then when someone starts talking at a regular voice, they have to turn the volume up.
We're figuring it out in terms of the audio. So, also we're a lo-fi podcast. Okay, the first one I'm doing...
Also we're a lo-fi podcast. Okay.
Is called The Great Attractor. So this is my first
I told you about
mystery.
this one.
Well, I had heard about it before, but you did...
I made it up.
I believe this
I
was
invented it.
Chloe who
I
discovered
it.
The Great Attractor, yes. So what it basically is a gravitational well that's located at the center of our local galaxy supercluster, which is called Laniakea, which I think is pretty cool.
Lanika.
Laniakea. And it's apparently like a Hawaiian word, I think, because there were like these professors at the University of Hawaii who like discovered it. Not Chloe. Sorry. So it is thousands of times more massive than the Milky Way. So like think about how big like the Earth is. And then, like, okay, that's super tiny as compared to the sun. And then the sun's, like, fucking nothing compared to the galaxy. And then this thing's, like, thousands of times more massive than that. So, yeah. It's real fucking big. So, it actually exerts a gravitational control over, like, hundreds of millions of light years.
Okay, so it's not a black hole.
No one knows what the fuck it is. There are different theories, different hypotheses, rather, but no one knows for sure what it is. But what we do know is that it makes galaxies... Okay, so there's this thing called redshifting. Okay, so, like, I never took astronomy, right? But I love astronomy, so it's not that hard of a concept, right? So redshifting is like, okay, something's moving away from you, right?
Okay.
Like, say, you know, I shot, like, a high-powered rifle, and you shot, like, a BB gun, right?
Okay.
So, like, the bullet from the high-powered rifle would be going away from us way faster than the BB gun,
yeah.
right? So that means the BB gun would be redshifted as compared to the bullet, right? It's going slower. Redshifting just means it's going slower than the other thing.
Okay.
And why that's important for, like, knowing what the Great Attractor is that, like, all these galaxies are moving away from each other, but they're not moving away at the same speed. Some of them are like the high-powered rifle bullet, some of them are like the BB gun. And because of that, you can make, like, a map of where things are, like, going. And to make another analogy, because I'm going to make, like, a shit ton of analogies during this whole thing, you can think of this like a bunch of, like, you know, string that's, like, tied together at different points, and then you like, pull from the outside, right? There's going to be a certain place or certain places that are a lot more dense than other places, right? Because strings are different lengths, and some of them have more tension than others, so it's going to create kind of these knots, right, in certain places. The Great Attractor is like one of those knots. It's like a huge knot in, like, the fabric of space-time. Yeah.
What?
Exactly. So, like, if you think of space and time as, like, a fabric, right? Like, the blanket on your bed. And then you, like, sort of made little rips and stuff in your bed, and then you pulled it apart from the edges. It would create, like, areas where they're more dense than other areas, right? That's kind of like what we're talking about here. I think...
So what does it do?
It pulls other shit towards it.
So it's not a black hole? It sounds like a black hole.
But again, no one knows exactly what it is. So it could very well be a supermassive black hole. It could very well be, you know, a super cluster. I mean, it's like...
A clusterfuck?
A clusterfuck of fuck-ton size galaxies. That didn't make any sense.
Wait, so it's like a...
It's an area of intensely dense gravity.
Okay.
So it's not that no one knows what it is. It's just like that no one can exactly see it because it's also like behind the Milky Way.
And we can only like sense it, right?
Right. We can only sense it
like
by its
detect
gravity.
That something's there.
Right.
Okay.
Because things are moving towards it. Like the things that are moving away from everything else and away from us are moving towards it, like generally.
Ooh.
So we know that it's like there because it's like pulling shit towards it. It's
I get it.
It's like the
I
siren
understand.
song of the skies. It just pulls everything
The
towards it.
siren songs of the skies?
I just made that up.
Don't you mean sea?
What? It's the
Sirens
space.
are in
it's
the
space.
sea.
Yes, but I'm talking about space right now.
But you were also talking about
Look,
sirens.
I've mixed about 18 metaphors at this point. I think I can mix one more. Okay, so okay, so it's like probably like these you know, big superclusters of like different galaxies, right? Because it's just like a big. But anyway, getting past what it is, let's talk about where it is. Okay. So the location of it was discovered in 1986, good year, and we discovered that it was about 100. Me and Chloe, we discovered that it was about when I was born, the year I was born, 9 years before. Or
why you always do a story that has to do with the year that you were born?
It just happens to work out that way. Probably
Are you
due
sure
to
about
numerology. It's I'm probably unconsciously selecting for it. So anyway, the Great Attractor is located about 150 to 250 million light years away. real fucking far
I
away.
have no concept of that at
Right.
all.
So it's like, a real long, far distance away. So that's awesome.
If
And-
we were to travel there in a car, how long would it take?
It would take about way longer than the universe has been around.
Wait, seriously?
Yeah. Like,
What the fuck?
by many orders of magnitude. Yeah, because cars are real slow compared to, like, how far you between anything in the fucking space. Okay, anyway, it's also in the direction of the Southern Triangle and the Carpenter Square constellations. So that's where it, like, actually is in the sky. But it's, like, located in this area called the Zone of Avoidance, because it's behind the center of the galaxy, right? So we're in one of the spiral arms of the galaxy, right?
Okay.
That's just, like, a generally known fact, right? Like, I think most people, like, know that, kind of, if they know
didn't.
anything about astronomy. Sorry, didn't mean to call you out there.
And probably lots of other people, too.
And I'm sure 99% of the people who will ever listen to this, because I'm a big fucking nerd. That's the only reason I know. And I've watched The Meaning of Life by Monty Python, because there's a whole fucking song about all this shit. Which is great. Look it up on YouTube. But anyway, it's in the direction of that. So it's like hidden behind the center of the galaxy, which is like super dense. So it's like hard to see back there because that's where all the stars are that are close to us. If that makes sense. Does that make any sense?
No.
So, okay, say...
Wait, if we
It's
can't see back there because there's stars? That doesn't make any sense.
It's washing it all out. So it's like if I took a picture
okay.
in front of like a bright light, I wouldn't be able to take a picture of anything behind that bright light, right? I would just see the bright light.
I understand.
Exactly. That's like literally what it is. And the Great Attractor, part of the explanation for it is also this like mysterious thing called dark flow. And dark... Yeah, right? It's like the universe pooping. Because I know you're going to be talking about poop later. So just teasing that. Stay for the end. So...
Stay for the end.
So the dark flow is a weird sort of like extra factor that astrophysicists have to put in to explain like this subtle flow towards a common point, like really, really far away from us. And no one knows exactly why. But it may indicate like a sister universe or other dimensions, which we'll talk about later. And also it may not actually exist because, this shit's kind of theoretical, if not hypothetical, at some level, some of this stuff. That's why it's a mystery. So, also, the next one that we're going to talk about, good transition, Mario, is segue, is dark matter and dark energy. And I think this is like
I'm excited.
Maybe the most mysterious like science mystery that I know about. So, okay, dark matter. It's dark, right? Air quotes, because it doesn't interact with light. So again, in that same way, like, you can't see anything behind the center of the galaxy, right? You can't see dark matter. When we point our, telescopes towards the area where we think it should be, you don't see anything. But we do know that it's there, like 100%. And that's because we can see its gravitational effects.
Just like the Great Attractor.
Right, just like the Great Attractor. So all the same concepts apply here, right? But we do know, because we've like detected so much of it, right, because of how we can see its gravitational effects, that it has to make up about 80% of the matter in the universe.
What?
Yeah, and that's one of the weirdest things about it.
And we don't
know what, like, the most of the matter in the universe is, right? Like,
that's kind of scary.
Right? It's kind of weird. Like, to me, what it says is that we fundamentally don't understand something or many things about how the universe actually is, about how reality actually is. Like, what the fuck? It's like one of those things that, like, it makes you realize,
like, what the fuck?
What the fuck? It makes you realize that, like, yes, we live in the future in a sense, right? And yes, like, science has progressed so much, but we still have, like, so much further to go, right?
Yeah.
And, like, I get fucking excited about that. Because I just, like, love science, and, like, that's the whole point. That you, like, keep finding out shit. But, you know, my analogy for this one, right, is that it's kind of like if you had, like, an invisible bowling ball, or maybe several balls on a trampoline. So, you know, say that you had, like, a perfectly clear bowling ball. So much so that you, like, literally couldn't see it. And then you put it on a
so
trampoline.
it's, like, invisible?
Yeah, invisible.
But it's clear?
Whatever, you can't see it, and it's sitting on the trampoline. How would you know that it's there?
Because the trampoline is like bending.
Yeah, exactly. It's depressing. It's the same exact thing.
Oh.
Again, think of space-time as a fabric. Like, if you think of space-time as a fabric, like, these gravitational things make, like, just intuitive sense. And where we specifically found this was in the spin of galaxies. So galaxies have, like, a natural rotation, right? And the rate at which they spin, if only the matter were visible that we can see, they would fly apart. There wouldn't be enough matter there to hold them together. It's like, you know, if you put, like, that bowling ball down, right? And then you had, like, you know, some things, like, spinning around it. They wouldn't be able to, like, get away because, like, that dip in the trampoline is too steep. But if you just had, like, a golf ball and then you, like, spun some stuff around it, it would just fly away off to the edges of the trampoline because the depression's not big enough to keep it there. Like, does that make sense?
Yes.
just like, think about it in your head. Like, if you put a bowling ball down onto a trampoline.
I understand the bowling ball part. I don't understand the things flying around it.
The things flying around it, that's the galaxy. Like, the edges of the galaxies, we would see them, like, flying apart if the amount of matter that were there were all that were there. It's like, if that's the golf ball, right? Is, like, the amount of, like, visible matter we can see in a galaxy. But because of the way that it's rotating, we know that it has to be more than that. Because things aren't flying away towards the edge of the trampoline.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Okay.
So we know that there must actually be an invisible bowling ball that we can't see that's, like, keeping that shit together. That's holding it down.
That's weird.
For reality.
Okay.
You know, it's like keeping it together.
Okay, moving on.
Thank you, dark matter, for making sure we don't fly the fuck apart. We can also see it in what's called gravitational lensing, which I won't really get into because it gets kind of complicated, but suffice it to say that it's like a bend in space-time as well.
A bend in the space-time continuum.
Oh my god, there's a bend in the space-time continuum. How will we ever repair it? And the way that it bends, it wouldn't be doing that unless dark matter were there too. Okay, now let's move on to dark energy. And even though dark matter and dark energy both have dark in the name, they are not the same thing, nor are they even really related. So it's just kind of like they get lumped together.
Enlighten me.
Oh, enlighten you? That's a good pun there, Chloe.
Oh, God.
Didn't even know. You didn't even know. I hate puns. Dark energy is a weird force that's causing the universe to expand. So if you ever wondered if the
I know about that.
Yes, right? Because, you know, you might have wondered, okay, is the universe, is it, like, staying the same?
No, it's getting bigger.
Is it getting smaller?
Or no, it's moving apart, right?
Is it getting bigger? Chloe, do you know the answer?
It's like moving apart.
Yes, that's correct.
It's moving towards a black hole.
You get an A. And you get an A.
I've never gotten an A in a science class before, ever.
And it just happened.
This is not a science class. This is a
It's sanctioned.
This is a mystery podcast.
Oh, right. We are not actually a university. We're just a mystery podcast. I forgot. So, yes, the galaxies in the universe.
I'm sorry.
What? You're totally fine.
Okay.
The galaxies in the universe are flying apart, and they're actually flying apart at an accelerating rate. So that's something we didn't know until pretty recently. But things are actually expanding, and they're expanding faster and faster all the time. And dark energy is the explanation for that. So no one knows why this is happening. No one knows, like, where this dark energy came from, right? But we do know that it's there because we've measured, like, how fast galaxies are flying away from each other. Like, real fucking accurately. And thank you, scientists, right? Right? Like, let's all give a little clap for scientists. Thank you for finding shit out for us, so that I can bullshit about it on a mystery podcast.
Doing the good work.
Doing that good work. You know, being the evangelist for the truth. I love it.
Oh, God.
Yeah, that's right. It gets a little bit corny. Whatever. So, one other thing about dark energy. Just one more thing about dark energy. If I may. If I could just say this one thing. That's my limited Bernie Sanders. The presence of dark energy might also indicate, right, the Big Bang. Right, so this sort of starts to make sense if you think about the Big Bang. So scientists think, like, the universe started when, you know, a little tiny point blew up, right, and just started expanding. So this, like, dark energy could be, like, the remnant of that initial explosion.
Like the moon.
In a sense, yes, like the moon. But that's kind of a different story.
Right?
And dark
then why is it a perfect sphere,
let me
you know?
Let me just read
How
this.
come it isn't, like, ragged and shit?
Let me just finish this one little part.
Why isn't it made of cheese?
That's the biggest science mystery, I think. So the dark energy might also lead to what's called the Big Rip. The Big Rip.
Okay.
It's just called the Big Rip. I don't know why I did that rolling R thing.
That was awful.
That was weird. I'll admit it. The Big Rip. So that's where, like, the universe expands so much that it just, like, rips apart, I guess. I don't know too much about it. Nothing ever interacts
painful.
ever again, and everything just goes to complete zero. I think it's kind of like if God had a rip in his pants, and then it ripped. Is that a good analogy?
No.
I didn't think so either.
Are we God's pants? Is that the galaxy?
Maybe we're near God's butthole. I don't know. It could be.
That's so nasty.
I mean...
Moving on.
It's a mystery. Okay,
we could do a whole religion mystery.
Okay, I'm going to briefly do one more, and then I'm going to get on to the dimensions. So, quantum entanglement.
Oh, shit.
Quantum entanglement is super fucking weird. So, what quantum entanglement is...
Quantum entanglement.
Quantum entanglement. What I want to tell you about quantum entanglement is that particles have mutually determined properties, even if they are at a large distance from one another.
What is a mutually determined property?
That's a wonderful question, Chloe. Thank you for asking.
Do you know the answer to it?
I do know the answer to it. And
well,
that's why I think...
Why don't you say it?
So, if, for example, a certain particle has a certain what's called a spin, right? So just like a regular ball, you know, it can spin like mostly upwards or like mostly to the side, let's say, right? So if I've got this one ball over here and it's spinning like mostly like up and down, and then I entangle it with another particle, and then I take this particle and I move it over like 1,000 miles away, and I keep them both in a sealed box, and then I open up that box, one of those particles will be spinning upwards, and the other particle will be spinning sideways. Always. But you don't know which one until you look. And that's one of the weirdest things about it, because in quantum physics, okay, quantum physics is weird, and I'm not going to talk about it all that much, just a little bit.
Quantum physics is the idea that if I slam my hand on a table, enough times, eventually it'll go through, right?
That is correct.
That's what I like to think about it.
And no, that's true. Quantum physics, okay, don't, because, yes, that's going to be really annoying.
I do that on purpose.
I know. Quantum physics basically tells you about how the smallest pieces of the universe work. And one of those ways that it works is that it's probabilistic. Nothing is ever determined one way or the other. It's always like a certain probability that something will happen or another thing will happen. Now, the probability can be extremely small.
Yes.
But that is not to say that there is not a certain probability at which your hand does, yes, go through the table or whatever. So that is completely the case. What it also tells us...
That would be dope.
Right? That's so cool. I'm a ghost. So what it also tells us is that observations are only, or that properties are only determined when observations are made. Like, we know that through...
Like Schrodinger's cat.
Exactly, like Schrodinger's cat. This is the uncertainty principle. But if that's true, then how could these two particles interact in this certain way? Because then information would have to travel instantly from one to the other, which would be faster than light travel, which is not supposed to be possible in, regular space as we understand it, right? Because, again, one of them is always spinning up, and one of them is always spinning sideways. But in quantum physics, before you look at it, they're spinning every which way they can at all times. And it's only determined which way they spin when you actually look at it, when you open the box.
Why?
For complicated reasons that would take too long to go into.
I don't really understand this one
podcast.
at all.
This one, it is very hard to understand. To the point that one of the people who theorized that it exists, Albert Einstein, thought that it was impossible and could not exist because it makes no fucking sense. But, which he may have very well said at certain
I bet he said
times.
that.
It makes no fucking sense.
Was he German or something?
He was German, yes.
I knew that.
He also thought that he said something like God doesn't play dice or something like that. Oh. But this quantum entanglement thing was definitely verified experimentally. It is a thing, and we now use it to synchronize GPS clocks and shit. It's a real thing.
What?
Yeah, it's a totally normal, everyday thing now. It's just that we really don't understand how it works or why it's there. But one idea is that it may indicate that there are more dimensions than we know about.
There
more
has
than
to
the
be.
3.
I think that shit's so cool.
And that's going to be my last science
Tell
mystery.
me about it.
Tell me about it. So how many dimensions are there? That is
3 billion.
One of the biggest mysteries in science. Normally we think of the 3 ordinary physical spatial dimensions. Maybe you think about time as a 4th dimension. Ooh, time is a 4th dimension. Oh, you're so smart. Yeah, okay.
Read A Wrinkle in Time.
Right.
That's a great book.
Or Flatland. Flatland is an amazing book about theorizing or visualizing different dimensions of space.
Yeah, but A Wrinkle in Time is exciting and not boring.
I think Flatland's exciting. But I'm a nerd, so... Yeah. Nerd alert. So what these not extra, right, but what these more than the 3 dimensions probably are super small, intricately wrapped around each other dimensions. Because we don't see them, right? When I look at this room, I see it's got a height, and it's got a length, and it's got a width. Oh, that's so cool. It's like a room in reality. Nice. But I don't see there's another dimension coming out of this way. And what would that even fucking mean?
The Upside Down?
Well, I don't see the Upside Down. It's not like that episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark where you put the sunglasses on and you see the people who weren't there before. It's not like that. That freaked me out the most of any episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark, which was a very freaky show. Did you watch that show?
No.
Little after your time. Before your time. Little before your time. But suffice it to say, it was very freaky. So what these other dimensions actually probably are really small ones that are wrapped around each other. Now, one thing you have to also understand is that when we're talking about dimensionality, there's certain ways in which small dimensions can become big and big dimensions can become small.
Are we a big or small dimension?
It depends on your perspective, right? But the, like, best kind of, like, theory of all of this, if you, like, really want to dig into this, like, whole other dimensions thing, because, like, it's super cool, and, like, you think about, like, you know, Star Trek, like, going to the alternative universe, and, like, is there, like, a sister universe to ours where, like, instead of matter, it's antimatter, but it's, like, pretty much the same.
An alternative universe where Ellen DeGeneres and Neil Patrick Harris are king and queen of America.
That's the universe in which I would want to live.
Yeah.
That's fine. I mean, if you're going to pick real royalty, you know. I mean, is Ellen DeGeneres not ordained by God to be our savior?
Who knows?
Who knows? I mean, it could be.
I wouldn't be surprised.
It wasn't Yahweh ben Yahweh, so...
Fuck Yahweh ben
you know,
Yahweh.
Or Black Jesus, or whatever. Or what? There's that guy down in Florida. He claims to be like the second coming of Jesus.
There's always somebody who claims to be the second coming of Jesus.
No, I know, but he was like a particularly interesting one. I forget his story. Anyway,
Bacon is the second coming of Jesus.
True.
We should go to Denny's.
I ate bacon today. We should go to Denny's. I love Denny's.
I love Denny's.
Denny's, if you're listening, please sponsor us.
Please sponsor us.
Because we will chill for you so hard because we truly love you. And you're our favorite restaurant.
And you're my favorite Twitter page.
That too. So if you really want to dig into this extra dimensions things, read about M theory. That's kind of like the best one. And according to M theory, there are 10 or 11 dimensions. I believe whether or not you count time as a dimension is the thing. And it's kind of a way to unite the three spatial dimensions that we see in the normal reality and that we experience with our brain minds with the fourth dimension being, of course, time. So bringing time into the dimensions sort of necessitates these extra wrapped up little dimensions that create this like 11-dimensional space. Which totally makes sense, right?
No.
That's like a totally normal concept that anyone could, visualize in their fucking head. Right? So, yeah, that's, wait, what? Oh, shit.
What are you doing?
I don't know. Anyway, any further questions, student Chloe?
No.
Good.
Student Chloe?
That was weird. Where's your write-up on here? That's what I'm looking for. Sorry.
I don't understand.
This is the transition part.
Like, why this is, like, so complicated for you.
This is the part where we're transitioning.
Oh, by the way, okay, so I did find a poop story.
Oh, right.
But the headline was much more interesting than the story itself.
Oh, you should still do it, and we'll talk about that.
Okay.
So we're just kind of teasing the weird shit in the news right now. We'll get to that.
I think it's funny that we keep having poo stories. This is like our third or fourth.
It's true. Yeah. I guess people just like to write about poop, because, who wouldn't? Okay. But now we're going to get to Chloe's story for the week.
Okay, so mine's really depressing. We have to tone it down.
Okay, so this is when it gets a little bit real.
Yeah. So I'm going to talk about the Texas killing fields. Fun fact, Mario's from Texas.
True.
People from Texas, they only like to talk about how they're from Texas and nothing else.
True.
Their personality is Texas. Texas, Texas, Texas.
Texas, my Texas.
Texas this, Texas that, Texas, Texas, Texas.
Deep in the heart of Texas.
Hi, my name's Chloe. I'm from Texas. Cool.
Yes, that is true. In particular, I'm from the Rio Grande Valley.
No one cares.
It's a super boring part of Texas. Down, in the south, the border region. It's actually been in the news a lot lately.
Why?
Well, because of the whole, family separation thing.
Oh, shit.
I've been seeing a lot of Byline Brownsville, Byline McAllen.
Send your clothes to the border, everybody.
I guess.
Well, there's people, sitting around, and they can't move.
Oh, yeah.
And so they need clothes and stuff.
Also, send your money to the ACLU and any other good organization that's, helping these people. Anyway, the Texas killing fields. Okay, so this is some crazy bullshit, right?
Okay, we're being serious.
Hey, let's be super serious.
So, all right. So it's a 25-acre stretch of land which is situated a mile from I-45, Interstate 45. It borders the Calder oil fields, and this is in South Texas. Which makes me wonder if you've, like, ever been past there or anything.
I don't know. What town is it near?
Galveston?
I've been to Galveston a shit ton of times, because that's how you get to South Badger Island.
You've probably been around there then.
I've definitely been within at least, like, 50 miles of it, for sure.
That's weird. Anyway, so basically, here's what it is. Since the 1970s, over 30 young women have been murdered or disappeared along the I-45 corridor in South Texas. Because of this, it's dubbed the Highway to Hell. And I know you were talking about, like, oh, the mystery is that, like, why do people dump bodies there? That's not the mystery.
Okay.
The mystery...
I'm glad you know more about your story than I do.
The mystery is that it's cold cases. It's just a ton of cold cases. Mm-hmm. People dump bodies there because it's perfect. It's the perfect dumping ground for a serial killer. It's deserted. It's isolated. It's remote.
There ain't many people around. It's like away from the city center. Sorry, go on.
It's got the right conditions to decompose bodies quickly. Animals, humidity, the heat, lots of dust, all that kind of stuff.
Interesting.
And that's also why a lot of them are still cold cases.
That makes sense.
Because I mean, it's in the middle of frickin' nowhere.
Right.
So there's no witnesses for almost anything. So, these things weren't really brought to attention until 1996 when Crystal Baker went missing. So basically, it started in the 70s, and we know that because like investigators went back and compared notes. This is like surrounding lots of tiny towns, and during that time, police in different jurisdictions didn't communicate. They didn't compare notes, so they couldn't really see this like pattern developing until much later. Which
is a pattern in itself that we've seen many times.
Yes.
Thankfully, the police communicate now a lot better.
Yes. So my main source was from a CBS article that basically like outlined the 48-hour episode that they did about it, which it wouldn't let me watch for some reason. But
because they want your money.
Well, but I could have watched it. I don't know why it wouldn't let me watch it. Anyway.
Okay.
So Texas Monthly reporter Skip Hollandsworth told CBS that, quote, "It's kind of environment that's sultry and sinister, easy to get to. You jump off of I-45, you drive down one of the dirt-rutted roads, you dump the body, and you're gone for good. All of the dumping grounds around this country that there have been, this is about, for a serial killer, as good as a place as they come." End quote. So let's start with Crystal Baker. So she disappeared March 5th, 1996 from... I thought this was kind of funny because it's she disappeared from a place called Texas City. Mm-hmm. You know where that is?
Yeah, it's just southwest of Houston.
Yeah, a lot of it.
Yeah, I've known people there from there.
Yeah. So she was 13 years old. She was a beautiful girl, quite stunning. She was also Norma Jean Baker, a.k.a. Marilyn Monroe, was her great aunt.
Oh, really?
So Crystal Baker, Norma Jean Baker, great aunt. So on that day, she got in a fight with her grandmother, and she's 13 going on 14. She's a teenager. She's rebellious. She's acting out. So she gets in a fight with her grandmother. She storms off, and after that, she's never seen again. So the family calls the police, but you'll find with a lot of these stories, it was the classic, oh, she's just a runaway. We'll report it, but we're not really going to do anything about it type of stuff. Mm-hmm. But then the same day, this March 5th, her body was found under a bridge. So her body was found the same day she went missing, but she was listed as Jane Doe until 2 weeks later. So there was also this, like, 2-week time slot that investigators lost, too. So she had been beaten, sexually assaulted, and strangled. The case went cold until 2012, when DNA evidence kicks into high gear. Technology becomes better and better. Her dress was resubmitted for analysis, and they tested a semen stain and came up with a match of this asshole named Kevin Edison Smith. So he was taken to trial. Jury deliberated for only 30 minutes, and he was found guilty and sentenced to life in prison without parole. And the only reason he wasn't given the death penalty is because they wanted to ask him if he knows anything else about all of these other bodies that have been showing up since the 70s.
Because, of course, one immediately thinks, okay, is this, like, a huge serial killer?
Yeah. They've come to the conclusion that it's not.
Right.
It's lots of different people. So let's talk about Laura Smither. Laura Smither was 12 years old. She was homeschooled. She was a dancer, very hardworking. She went to dance class 6 days a week. She was last seen April 3rd, 1997 in Friendswood, Texas. So basically, one day before breakfast, she told her parents that she was going to go on a quick 20-minute jog, but she never came back. 17 days later was when she was found. She was found near a pond 12 miles from Friendswood. She was nude, and a lot of the evidence had been washed away. She was decomposing. The cause of death could not be determined because of the state that her body was in. Next, we'll talk about Jessica Kane. Jessica Kane was 17 years old. She was an aspiring actress. She disappeared 4 months after Laura Smither. So she was last seen at the Bennigan's restaurant near Baybrook Mall in Clear Lake, Texas. She was eating dinner with friends. It was pretty late. It was around 1:30 in the morning. So later, her father's truck, the one that she had been driving that night, was found abandoned along that same interstate, I-45 South. The article I read was written in 2012. And so they talked about how her body has, like, not yet been found, but her remains were found March 18th, 2016.
Oh, wow.
So pretty recently. Next, we're going to talk about Laura Miller. Laura Miller, she loved music. She had lots of friends. She liked to laugh. She was 16 years old. She was last seen September 10th, 1984, after making a phone call from a convenience store in League City, Texas. So she was another quote-unquote runaway. Police treated her as a runaway. She wasn't found until 17 months later. She had been murdered and found in one of the oil fields. So her father, which the article talks about a lot, her father his name is Tim Miller, and he seems like just like an amazing person. He was determined. He never gave up. He always went looking for her. Once they found her, he would always return to that spot. There's like a big cross there where her body was found. He started a rescue group called Texas EcuSearch. Texas EcuSearch. With that group, he went to Aruba to search for Natalie Holloway. He went to Florida to search for little Kaylee Anthony. This group has helped search for missing people, and they've had a pretty good success rate. They found many bodies, which is horrible, but also bittersweet. So her death, Laura Miller, is possibly related to the murder of Heidi Villarreal Fye, and she was last seen a year before, October 10th, 1983. She was last heard from at the same convenience store that Laura Miller made a call from, and her remains were found only 60 feet away from Laura's. So, February 2nd, 1986, a year later, another body was found in the same spot where Laura's was. This person is still unidentified, a Jane Doe, and to this day, she hasn't been identified. I think the Wikipedia page said she was 25. So there are some possible suspects. the possible suspect responsible for Laura and maybe the other girls that I read about as well. I talked about these girls specifically because these were the ones that the CBS article talked about, and also these were the ones that kind of sparked the like, let's look at this area, let's see what's going on here. So the possible suspect responsible for Laura and maybe the other girls came up in 1993, a retired NASA engineer named Robert Abel. So he came into question. He leased a horse stable that was adjacent to the fields. According to his former wives, he had a dark side. He was violent. He was abusive. He would beat horses with a pipe. But the thing is that there was no connection ever found between Robert Abel and the murders. There was no physical evidence. There was no eyewitnesses. They searched his property. There was nothing. The only thing was that he fit the FBI profile. That's about it. So he was never charged or anything. In July of 2005, he drove an old golf cart in front of a train and died. It was ruled an accident despite rumors of suicide. And in the article, Tim Miller talks, and he talks about how he looked at Robert Abel and was like, that's the guy, that's him. And, you know, he had been looking for his daughter for so long at this point, and he made Robert's life a living hell. And they said after he was, like, totally cleared that, like, he apologized to him, and they, like, hugged and cried and this, that, and the other thing. And, like, after he died, Tim Miller was talking about how he, like, felt guilty, and it was sad. So, some suspects. This is straight from the Wikipedia page. So,
fresh from Wikipedia.
Straight up from Wikipedia.
Lots of mine was from Wikipedia, too. I didn't really say my sources, but yeah.
Yes. So, a dude named Edward Harold Bell, he was a convicted murderer, 72 years old in November 2011. He claimed in a 1998 letter to police that he had murdered 11 girls in Galveston County. But he, although, he had been a suspect for a while, there was no evidence to prosecute him, so he was never prosecuted. Another man named William Lewis Reese, he's a 58-year-old, and he's from Texas. He had also been named a suspect in 4 of the murders, the ones that I talked about. He was only charged... No, not the ones I talked about. In four of the murders, just in general. He was charged with three of them. He was charged with the murders of Tiffany Johnston, 19, Jessica Kane, 17, and Laura Smither, 12. He's suspected but not charged in the death of Kelly Cox, who was 20. And he's serving a 60-year sentence for kidnapping when he led police to the remains of Kane and Cox in 2015.
So it seems like he clearly did at least some of the murders.
Some of them, yeah. So I'm just going to there's a whole list of the victims on here, and I'm just going to read some names and circumstances because I believe it's all important. So Brenda Jones was 14. She was last seen July 1st in 1971 and was discovered the next day in Galveston Bay near Pelican Island. Colette Wilson was 13 from Alvin, Texas. She disappeared in 1971. June was found in November. She was dropped off by her band director. Her body was found 5 months later near the Addicks Reservoir near the body of Gloria Gonzalez, which is another victim. Gloria Gonzalez was 19. She's from Houston. She was found 3 days before Colette was found, and she was last seen near her apartment in Houston, and her severed remains were the ones that were found. Rhonda Johnson and Sharon Shaw, both of them were 14 from Webster, Texas. They disappeared in August of 1971, and they were both walking along Seawall Boulevard in Galveston, and both of their skeletal remains were found in a marsh near Clear Lake. Allison Craven was 12. She had disappeared from their apartment near same interstate, I-45. They found partial remains early on, and then the rest of her body was found 3 months later, 10 miles away from her home. Debbie Ackerman was 15. She's also from Galveston, disappeared in 1971, found 2 days later. Maria Johnson, 15, also from Galveston. I think they were together. Yes, Debbie Ackerman and Maria Johnson were together. They were hitchhiking, accepted a ride near an ice cream shop. Her body was found bound and partially nude in Turner's Bayou along with her friend Debbie. Kimberly Pitchford, 16, from Houston, disappeared in 1973, found 2 days later. Suzanne Bowers was 12, Galveston, Texas, disappeared in May of 1977. She was found 2 years later. In March of 79, her skeletal remains were found. Brooks Bracewell was 12, from Dickinson, Texas, disappeared in 74, found in 81. Her remains were identified along with Georgia Greer in Alvin, Texas ditch. Georgia Greer was 14, and she disappeared the same day and was found the same day. They were last seen together at a convenience store. And then, like I talked about before, I talked about Heidi Villarreal Fye. She was 23, from League City, Texas. And she was the one whose remains were found right by Laura Miller. And Heidi's remains were found in the 3000 block of Calder Road after a dog brought her skull to a nearby house, which is very, very haunting.
Yeah.
Shelley Sykes was 19. She was also from Texas City. Her car was found the next day, stuck in mud, bloodstained, and abandoned on the side of the I-45. Her body has never been found, even though one of her convicted kidnappers, Gerald Peter Zwarst, drew them a map to where to find her. She was still never found. Suzanne Renee Richardson was 22. She was last seen at her job. Other than witnesses hearing female screamings and a lone shoe found in the parking lot, she's never been seen or heard from again. Lynette Bibbs, she was only 14, from Houston, disappeared in February 1996, found 2 days later. Tamara Fisher was 15, also disappeared from Houston. Her body was also found two days later. So Lynette Bibbs and Tamara Fisher were together. They went to a club, and a 22-year-old male companion who claims to have dropped them off at a motel on Old Spanish Trail in Houston, and her body was found right next to Tamara's on the side of a dirt road near Cleveland, Texas. And then we talked about Laura Smither, and we talked about Jessica Kane. Tot Harriman, she's kind of an outlier. She was 57, and she simply went missing along the route. She was on a search for a new home, and she was last seen driving near Highway 35, and she or her car has never been found. Sarah Trusty, 23, from Algoa, Texas, disappeared in 2002. She was last seen riding her bike. Her bike was found in the foyer of the Algoa Baptist Church, and her body was found in Texas City by a fisherman. Teresa Vanegas, 16, Dickinson, Texas, disappeared in 2006. Found a couple of days, like three days later. She was found strangled and raped. Crystal Baker, we talked about. And then there were 2 Jane Does, the one who was discovered right by Laura Miller and in 1986. And then there was another Jane Doe by the age of 31 who was discovered in 1991 in the same spot, that 3000 block of Calder Road. And I guess a lot of you are thinking about the film, too. There's a film called The Texas Killing Fields. It was released in 2011. It's loosely based on these stories of the missing girls.
I'd never heard of it before.
Me neither.
Which is funny because it's like near where I grew up, but yeah. But yeah, we should watch that movie, I guess, too.
Chloe Grace Moretz is in it.
Oh, another Chloe.
I love her.
Yeah, she is really good.
But yeah.
Yeah. So that was it.
It's pretty crazy.
Pretty crazy.
It's another one. So there's just like so many names. You know.
I know. But no, I think it's really good to like just go through the victims and like give them their due of humanity and like.
Yeah.
You know, they were each a person. They each got killed, disappeared. You know, so yeah, they each like deserve their time. I love that.
So do you have any weird shit in the news?
Weird shit in the news?
Weird shit in the news?
Weird shit.
In the news?
Weird shit in the news. Weird
Weird shit
It's weird.
in the news.
Oh, get a little weird with it.
Weird shit in the
Weird
news.
shit.
Like poop shit. You go first.
I'll take my shit first. So, my story is kind of a science-y weird shit in the news to match my theme this week. And it's from Newsweek. And the headline is, Weird crystal-studded meteorite is completely different to any other found on Earth.
Ooh.
The space rock hails from the explosive dawn of the solar system.
Whoa.
And it's by Catherine Hignett. Thank you for sounding interested and amazed.
Well, you said it was... They've never seen anything like it,
That's true.
which is weird.
It is weird. And the sort of lead here is scientists say a weird baseball-sized space rock studded with green crystals is completely different from any other known meteorite on Earth. So it may be as much as 4.6 billion years old, which would definitely make it super old, and also from like when our solar system was like just forming, right? And yeah, it's like covered in these like green like crystals. It's like pretty weird. It's like the kind of thing you would like think about it as a weird rock.
That is weird looking.
Yeah. It looks like something out of like Star Trek or something. Maybe that's just because I'm kind of a Trekkie, but you know. But scientists say it's like very unusual.
How much it worth?
It's not doesn't really have a particular value. Because it's kind of like a priceless object that only scientists get to possess. But yeah, it's like pretty weird. It's pretty weird.
Okay, so I guess I'll read part of that article. So the title is Fecal Explosion, covers 3 Northwest Houston homes in poop.
Huh.
But that's not what it is. Basically, it was just like raw sewage that just overflowed 3 homes.
Oh.
Which is nasty and disgusting, but it's not a fecal explosion.
Right.
That's what I was hoping for.
It's not that weird. Thanks, Houston Chronicle, for writing sensationalist headlines that get us to click on your fucking stories.
A lot of Texas going on today.
I love it. Well, I don't love murder, but you know what I mean.
So I have a real one, and
Okay.
I think it's so funny.
Cool.
So this is from CTV News, and the title is, quote, I was annoyed. Woman, 95, shoos black bear out of kitchen twice in one day. So we got this badass woman named Anna Stady. She was chilling, watching some TV, and she was greeted with the sight of a black bear rummaging around her kitchen. I was annoyed, she told CTV Vancouver Island. I told him to go, and then he just went about halfway to the backyard, and I said, no, go home. And the bear left.
Wow.
And then later, it came back. And she discovered the animal, snooping around in her cupboards, destroying her sugar bin. He made a regular mess, she recounted. I was really annoyed with him, and I told him to go. He looked at me, then he grabbed something, I don't know what it was, and he ran out.
Wow.
Stady said she wasn't afraid of the bear because she's been around them her entire life and has never been attacked. Wow.
I have heard that black bears are pretty docile, pretty skittish. Of course, if that were a grizzly bear or like another kind of bear, probably wouldn't have been good, so don't try it at home. Unless you're like in your 90s, because then who fucking cares, right? It's all gravy at this point.
Yeah, she was so chill.
I mean, if you're a nonagenarian, like, are you really afraid of anything
How
at that
many
point?
fucks do you give?
0.
My mom is getting up there. She's not 95, but she's like at a point where she like doesn't give a fuck.
Right, exactly. Because, like, what's anyone going to do to you?
Yeah.
Right? Like, what? Really? Like, what could they do?
But she says she hopes that they never find him because, quote, I hope they don't catch him because they say if they do, they'll have to kill him, she explained. Quote, he was a beautiful black bear, nice and chubby.
In the end, I think I liked him. We kind of became friends. So, that's pretty cool. Nice.
Nice.
That's key. So, yeah, thanks so much for listening, you guys. we love it when you listen. And,
yeah, thanks for listening, y'all.
To
our bullshit. Oh my God.
Thanks for hanging out with us and, like, listening to us bullshit about mysteries. And, I would thank anyone who also gave us money on Patreon. So do that, and then I'll thank you. Seriously, like, I don't think $1 is too much to ask for, like, we put in a serious amount of bullshitty research on this. Sometimes even less, more than bullshitty research.
Yeah, guys.
I mean, come on.
Sometimes I read a whole article.
Sometimes I listen to a whole audiobook.
Sometimes I watch an entire 2-hour documentary.
That is true. So, we'll work for like 20 cents an hour. It's fine. It's totally fine. But we will give you a shout out if you give us $1. You will get all of our weird news extras if you give us $5. Just go to patreon.com/mystery-murdery-thingy. Hey, send us an email too. That'd be cool.
We have a lot of fun.
Yeah, those are like even looser and more just like you're fucking hanging out with us.
If you've got a mystery you want us to cover,
email us at mysterymurderythingy@gmail.com. Or if you just want to give us some feedback,
follow us on Instagram.
Right.
Mystery Murdery Thingy, all lowercase.
And if we ever make a Twitter page,
follow us on Twitter.
Whenever we do that,
it'll get done.
Whatever that'll be.
Twitter
at that point.
is just like a whole other thing to tackle. That's a stupid excuse, but
yeah. We're like building this up. We've been doing it for like almost 7 months now. Mm-hmm. We're like building it up, and we just want to keep making it better and keep having fun. Because like, why the fuck not? Like when I got this new job, Chloe was like, "So are we still gonna keep doing the podcast?" And I was like, "Fuck yeah, we're gonna still keep doing the pod. I don't give a shit what we have to do. Like I ain't giving up the mysteries because you know what? We're Team Mystery."
Team Mystery Murdery Thingy.
Yeah, that's a little long, but sure. Okay, so yeah, we could probably be done at this point.
Okay, bye.
Thanks, y'all. Bye.